How's it going? Welcome to another video. I get asked really just my story and how I got started, and this is what that's going to be about. This is going to be about my story of going from, I really started entrepreneurship when I was 17, and now I'm 24. And in that 7-year period, I've made millions of dollars on the internet. And I've lost millions of dollars too. I've had crazy high seasons and crazy low seasons. And I just really wanted to share briefly because I don't have a ton of time right now, and I can make another video and really go into it. But I think probably 10 or 15 minutes, just very briefly, what my story is. Because I just don't really tell it that much, and I realize like a lot of people, I'm not able to build a relationship with people because of that. And my story is not going to be the most relatable either. I've had some crazy stuff happen, so I'll start with when I was 17. So I actually grew up, I was homeschooled, right? So I was a homeschooled kid, and when you're homeschooled, at least my experience with it, my parents just kind of allowed me to study, whatever I wanted to study, Obviously they had me do the basics. They taught me, American history, math. They taught me, critical thinking. I remember taking a critical thinking course when I was like 8 or 9. That had a big impact on me. And my schooling was somewhat fluid. I was able to, really study the things that I really just wanted to study, which is how I plan to raise my kids too. After I get them the basics, show them how to read, show them how to do math, division, get them off the ground, and then just really let them, like, what do you want to know? Like, what do you want to know about the world? What's curious to you? And I hope you guys don't mind either. I'm actually enjoying a cigar. This is a Romeo y Julieta Nicaraguan, which is just, it's so good. So if you like cigars, I can make another video about that if anybody ever wanted. Because I love it. I'm at a point now with the business where, as an off-topic thing, I don't have to make content in order to make money. It's awesome. We'll spend we'll spend a lot of money on ads, and that totally fills up our team's calendar, and then they enroll right fits. So I'm at a point now where I don't have to be this influencer all the time. You know what I mean? I don't have to be putting on a show all the time, which that's kind of how I got my business to $1 million a year first, is I was just on all the time. And you can't really, I wasn't able to build the home and life that I really wanted to build being like a figure, if that makes sense. I wanted to be a bit more private. And especially wanting to be a dad, I had to make these decisions. So anyway, that's a whole other thing. So when I was a kid, I was homeschooled, and my first major interest was actually computers. So I loved computers. I loved, I remember this was like when I was a preteen. Just loved computers, loved building computers. I learned how to code basic code like JavaScript, HTML, Python. I think there was another one called Ruby, I think it was called, very basic. For those of you who are aware, I used to buy, what's it called? It's not an Arduino board, it's like a miniature computer, and I would just code it with different software programs and stuff. And that was like my first introduction into, looking back, I realize now, you could build a system, tell it what to do, and it'll do it. And that, that's like, a lot of people, they don't experience that. You know what I mean? And business is kind of that for me now, right? Which is really cool. And I really enjoy that component of business, especially the marketing component of things, the paid ads, funnels, the marketing end of things. The team things, you can't just tell people what to do, right? You have to actually lead people and care about them, which I do. I care deeply about my team. So when I was about 14, I got into Minecraft, and I would code Minecraft mods. And this is actually the first money I ever made on the internet. Was I would custom code Minecraft mods, which, if you don't know, it's basically there's this game called Minecraft, and it's coded in Java is the name of the code that it was built off of. So I learned how to code Java, and then people would reach out on this Minecraft forum on the internet and ask me to make things for their game. And so I made all kinds of stuff. I made a Minecraft mod where you could have bacon in the game, which there's not, still to this day there isn't bacon. Made one where you can do throwing knives. So there's swords in the game, there's not throwing knives, so you can have throwing knives in the game. I made it so that all of the characters in the game were miniature, like baby size, which was just stupid. I made new types of trees and new environments. I made all kinds of stuff. I made custom armor, just all this stuff, and that kind of got me into like some design too. So I learned basic graphic design in order to support my mods, right? And I remember getting paid like $5 just for like a little mod. And then I started making YouTube videos about my Minecraft stuff. So that's what got me into content. And this is actually why I do what I do today, is because I genuinely believe in self-education. I'm completely self-educated. I haven't really learned any of this anywhere. I just literally just dove in head first. And so our company mission to this day, we want to help decentralize education. And I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm the reason why it's going to be decentralized. I think it's already decentralized. It's just not monetized decentrally to the degree that it could be. So I want to help experts and leaders and thought leaders and authorities, sell millions of dollars of their thing on the internet. That's what I want to do. I love that. So anyway, that turned into me making content, right? And so a lot of those videos have been deleted now, unfortunately. I was embarrassed of them when I was like 18, so I deleted them, which I regret now. I wish I still had a lot of them up. But it's just me sharing my Minecraft mods and stuff. And I'd make, I'd design new what's called texture packs for the game, so you could actually change the way the game looks. That got me into design, how to design things. And then the skill that I was learning that I didn't realize I was learning, I was just making content about Minecraft. And that kind of turned into learning how to just talk to a camera and be comfortable behind a camera and just convey concepts without like judging myself, which most people still, if you don't know how to make content in the modern era, like, you're missing out on so much leverage. So I was really lucky that I got that skill. So that was that, right? So I learned that. And then when I turned 15 or 16, there was this girl that I was interested in, and she was interested in this other guy who was a photographer. So I thought, if I learned photography, maybe I'll get her interested in me. I'm not even kidding. That was literally why. And then it ended up being a small business, because I was like, well, I have to make some money because I don't want to get a job. I was like 15, and I was like, I don't want to work a job. All my buddies are like working these like jobs at like McDonald's and stuff and Culver's. These is like really, like, literally, I'm in such a small town where I grew up that like the hangout spot was a freaking Culver's. Okay, so I grew up in like a really small town. I live in Indiana. I still live in Indiana, actually. So I'm filming this at our home. And all my friends worked those sorts of jobs, and I just was like, I don't want to work a job. Like, I just don't want to. I don't even mind working hard. I just don't want to work a job. Like, I want to do something that I actually like enjoy to make money. And so I started off doing photos just to impress some girl who she never reciprocated my interest. But it was a blessing because it got me into something that really changed my life. So I'm 15, I get into photography. By the time I'm 16, it's a decent, thriving business. So I'm making like 2 or 3, maybe $4,000 a month, depending on the month, which is good money when you're 16. And I didn't intend it to be that way, but I just kind of have this like addictive personality where I just get into things. And I just got really good at photography, like really, really good at photography. And I started charging. And I didn't even have my license. So my parents were always very supportive of these things. This is the cool thing about self-education and just having a home like what I had. My mom just drove me around all my gigs. I was literally shooting weddings, and my mom would drop me off at the wedding to shoot the wedding, which was really, really cool. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm very grateful. I feel really lucky, honestly, to have that. And then, so then eventually I got my license, actually, because, I'll move back. When I'm 17, my family, we went through a house fire, right? And this is like a big pivotal moment for me. We really lost everything in this fire because, there's all kinds of things that happened during that time that I want to just like respect the boundaries of my private life and my family and everything and not go into all the details. But you can just imagine a fire that was timed incredibly poorly for a bunch of other things that my parents were dealing with, and we just had to it was tough. It was a really, really tough season, and for the first time I really felt that like visceral gut, oh, like if I don't figure my life out, like I need to figure my life out basically. I can't like not take making money seriously, not take becoming a man seriously. And so I was 17, and I ended a relationship with a girl that I was with at the time because I was like, I have to just like go all in on becoming this version of myself that I saw. I remember very vividly this moment where I was looking in the mirror and I was just so upset that I couldn't help my family, which was very painful for me. And I was like, I gotta just double down. So I bought all these books about business and marketing, and I knew, you know, because my dad, he runs a business as well, and he's done pretty well. And I was very comfortable in that. And to this day, I've never taken any money from him. Never, I really wanted to build on my own, you know. And so, which was really important for me, just to really be able to say that I did it myself. And he's offered, and I've never taken it, and I continue to be very intentional about that because I just really want to do it right. And so, but anyway, that's a whole thing. I saw him really struggling, and so I really wanted to, help. So I bought all these books about marketing and sales, and I started to just go online, and I saw these people, making money with different business models and stuff on the internet. And I decided something that I could do was probably like sell coaching and courses for other photographers, because there's a lot of photographers that had made no money, right? So I saw this thing from actually Russell Brunson. I read his book Expert Secrets, and it said if you're one step ahead of somebody, you can sell them that step. And I was like, well, I'm a step ahead of a lot of photographers, because I'm not like making a ton of money with photography, but there's a lot of photographers that have made no money, right? Trying to make sure this thing doesn't die while I talk. And so I started making content. I kind of pulled from my Minecraft days. And I was like, well, I had a decent following. I had like 2,000, 3,000 subscribers with Minecraft stuff. So I was like, I'll just make content about photography. So I started reviewing photography gear. I started talking about like how to shoot weddings. I strapped a GoPro to a camera and filmed a whole wedding, me shooting it, and put it on YouTube, 6 or 7 hours, just so people could see like how I did things. And it was just so valuable for photographers that they started asking for that course and coaching and stuff. And that was kind of my mindset, was like, I'm just going to give a bunch of stuff away. And it's still my mindset today. Like, people don't really have to pay me to get, great results. I mean, our free stuff is so good. And, humbly, I think I'm pretty underrated. Like, I give away a lot. I mean, our YouTube's awesome. And it's still my philosophy. Like, if somebody wants to speed it up and pay us, great. But if they don't, great. Like, it's, so I'm just going to give a bunch of value. And so I started getting, messages from people saying, hey, like, you briefly mentioned this course that you have or this coaching thing that you have. Like, I'd love to learn more. And I was able to get that business when I was 19 to 20. My best month was $20,000 in a single month. Now, that took me about a year of building that up, right? But, man, to go from basically nothing, so just enough money to pay my own, like, basics, my car payment and stuff like that I had at the time for my car and whatever, to a $20,000 month a year in. And even then, I do like something very similar to what we teach our clients now. So I took a little bit of the money that I had and I actually used it to like boost put money behind content and just get it out in front of the right eyes and then build that audience. And so I did that, and it worked so well. And then I just added value, and then I just messaged people and heard their story, and then I just offer people help who needed it. And I decided, you know what? Let me just charge what one wedding is worth for the average photographer, which is $2,000. And it's like $2,000, and if I don't help you land a single wedding, I'll just give you your money back. That was like my thing. And so that worked pretty well because a lot of photographers didn't know anything. They weren't like marketers. They didn't think like business owners. They thought like artists, which is great. That means you're really good at what you do. So I could kind of be like your marketer brain almost, And that worked so well. It just worked so well, and it just blew my mind. And what started to happen was these wedding photographers, they actually asked me, they said, we can do the math. Like, in their head, they saw that in a group chat, I had like 20 people in there, and they're like, okay, these people have all paid you $2,000. Like, they would join, and immediately, I know what they would do. They would just pull up a calculator and be like, 20 times 2,000, like, this is a good amount of money. Like, and they'd be like, hey, could you show me how to do that? So I started off helping other wedding photographers sell their own coaching program, because I was like, abundance mentality. Like, I don't care if I create my own competition. I could care less. Like, even back then I was like, there's like millions upon millions of photographers. Like, I don't care. Sure, I'll help you. And so I helped them, and they started signing clients. And at this point, I'm now just turning 20, and I started like a marketing agency to help these wedding photographers market. But then I went into these other niches, and I realized like consulting was the best. I didn't like doing services. I like just showing people what to do. And I found that I had a good communication skill, so I didn't really have to do it. I could just tell them, hey, here's how to do it, here's why to do it, here's the thought process behind that kind of stuff. And they would always have the power to do it themselves, which I liked. I never liked like being needed. I wanted to empower people so they could do it themselves later, and not need me. And yeah, it just died. I literally was trying to keep it alive. And that's when I started the business that I now have today. So I was 20 or 21, sometime in there. And I said, you know what? Let me just help people sell coaching programs, because I imagine this applies more than just wedding photographers. And I didn't even, honestly, I didn't even know about, this, like the space. You know what I mean? Like, the coaching and consulting, space. I just, straight up, stumbled into it. I didn't really know a lot, about, the whole sphere of it all, And I think that's why it's worked out for me is there's this book called Outsiders, and it talks a lot. I'm so sorry, I'm just trying to keep this thing lit. This thing doesn't always work. Great. Talks about how usually the people who are able to win in a game are the people who come from outside of the game and apply other rules to the game. So, I'd learned, client experience from, wedding photography. I'd learned how to deal with pressure because of wedding photography. If you miss the first kiss, you're screwed. You know what I mean? Little things like that. And I learned how to just talk to people and just ask for the sale from wedding photography. And I learned how to make content from, Minecraft. And I learned how to, think in systems from coding. So I had all these skills. And I was just able to, really just channel them into this thing. One of my favorite things Alex Hormozy says, because I really honestly don't follow a lot of people in the space. I really just do a lot of my own self-studies. I read a bunch of just timeless business books. I really don't follow a lot of influencers just because I like to keep my thinking very pure, and usually influencers have an agenda, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that agenda, don't get me wrong. But I'll step in and listen, and then I'll step back out and just go back to my own self-study. But anyway, he said something that I really, really liked, which was skill stacking. So you learn one skill, and that opens the door to learn another skill, and that opens the door to learn another skill, right? And so my very first skill was just computers. And it just kind of compounded, and I found myself with a left brain and a right brain integration, where I could think in systems, but I could also consider and care for and think about people. And those two skills, man, I mean, that's basically what created the business I now have today, and that's actually a framework that I teach my clients. I teach them how to think in numbers and think in systems, and how to think about people at the same time, which I think is why we just create so many success stories, because I don't just tell them what to do, I really teach them how to think, right? And so I ran that business, and I was only doing, which sounds like only for a lot of people, maybe it sounds like a lot of money, but compared to what we do today, it wasn't that much, but I was doing about 30 or 40 grand a month in sales, which is pretty good. I was charging a lot more. At the time I was charging 5 grand. I did a lot of one-on-one support with people, very involved. And it wasn't until I signed a client of ours who was in the same niche. And I believe in abundance. No problem. He was helping other people sell coaching programs as well. I was like, yeah, dude, help you out. He was doing like nothing. So he was like, you know what, dude, I feel like I know a lot. Can I just, are you cool if I'm in the same niche? I was like, yeah, fine. I'll show you. And I showed him, and within 4 months, he had his first 6-figure month. And I was only doing 30. So I was like, what the heck are you doing, right? And I realized that he just had this like all-in mindset. I was kind of like 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake a little bit. Like, I never really had this, like, that was like the last piece that I was missing, was just like this balls to the wall, burn the boats kind of a way of thinking. And Napoleon Hill talks about this a lot. He's like, you have to be all in. If you're not all in, then you're not going to get the rewards of the thing you're doing. And so that's kind of what I learned. I learn as much from my clients as I teach them, honestly. I'm genuinely, I do. And it's a lot of fun. And so he just blew up. And he had his first 6 months, like literally, it was like 4 or 5 months. And he just went crazy. I mean, I showed him how to set up a page. I showed him how to run the content on that page. Showed him how to put a little money behind the content to get the audience. Like, all the stuff that, like, literally, nothing's changed, right, in a long time. I've played with other frameworks and other formulas and things and whatever, but generally it's been the same thing over and over again for years. And that's why we're so good now, is it's so refined, right? But it just expanded my mind, right? And I was like, man, okay, like, this can actually be like a 7 or multiple 7-figure business. And that's really when I got like into the space, you know what I mean? I started joining masterminds. So I was introduced to Sam Ovens. For those of you who know Sam Ovens, I joined his mastermind. It's 32 grand for the year. I paid in full the 32, no questions asked. I was like, I need to be in the room. I just paid it outright. I think I don't even know, I forget how much money I had, but it was a lot of money. Even though I was doing 30, 40 grand a month. I mean, I wasn't really being that good with the money at the time, so I was spending a lot of it. And so I paid in full, because I was like, I want to be a valued client, so I'm going to pay in full. Because I know that if I pay in full for this thing, that they'll value my business more. You know what I mean? And that was very much the case. So I actually ended up getting some additional support, and I really met some great people, and that showed me, like, this can actually be like a big business. You know what I mean? And I'd never really thought about it before like that. So yeah, and then man, kind of the rest is history. So from 22 to 24 now, I mean, I got to like 100 grand a month when I was 22, profit. So I was doing $100,000 a month profit a month at 22, with a niche that I loved, an offer that I loved, clients that I loved, and then I fell in love. So I met a girl, and I decided, you know what, I can go really, really hard with this business thing and just get this thing like really, really big, or I can kind of settle just for a minute, just for a season, and just get married and start a family. And that's what I decided to do, because I said, you know what, I've figured out a lot very young, and I'm really, really lucky. And I'm not blind to how lucky I am to have had figured a lot of this out. I feel just so incredibly lucky, because I look at some of the problems that some of my friends have, and even some people that I meet have, and I'm just like, man, like, I just feel so, I'm very, I don't know, I try not to talk too much about the numbers and things. I learned that the hard way. Like, I used to be very open with the numbers about, even around like family and friends and stuff, and I just noticed, it wasn't received the best. You know what I mean? Because I just always had this spirit, this heart of, like, anybody can learn this. Like, I'm not special. I just figured a bunch of stuff out, right? But people don't see you that way when you talk about the numbers. They see you as, like, you're trying to be better than them or something, and that's never been my heart. I'll talk numbers just to get people to pay attention, because I honestly have a message that I think can serve them. So I'll talk numbers because it gets them to say, oh, like, you actually do have it figured out, right? And so, yeah, and I just haven't stopped since. I mean, I've had opportunities to run other businesses, and, I've thought a lot about, like, should I start another business? Because, like, there's this whole, like, coaches who coach coaches thing, and there's typically people tend to throw rocks at those sorts of people, and I actually totally get it, especially if you've never run a business outside of it, etc. And, I mean, I haven't run a business as big as this one outside of it, but I have clients who are not in my niche who I've gotten bigger than me, right? So we've got clients doing $400,000 a month in sales in niches that I'm not in. So I tend to just see that as, like, the validation that I need, and the fact that they give me, like, direct credit to this day. I mean, it's still, that's all I need. But I've thought about starting other businesses. I've thought about doing, like, a men's development business. I've thought about doing, like, a self-image psychology coaching business, especially these, like, non-ROI offers. It's not like, pay me this money and it'll make this money back, but something like that. So I've played with this stuff, but nothing's ever really been super worth my time, especially considering, like, newly married. I've got a kid now. So my time is precious, and I'm just just like not gonna change the formula for a minute. I'm gonna stack a lot of money, build some wealth, maybe get some investments going. I plan to buy a lot of real estate and just get like cash flow going, and then maybe I'll play with another business. But for now, I'm just gonna keep going with this one. And so that's my story. I mean, that's from then to today, and man, I I love it. I just love it. I love everything about this. I love the clients we get to work with. We have people who will just message me, and I've never heard this person before. I don't know their name. It's not like a referral. It's not like somebody in my network. And I'm like, hey man, what does your thing cost? I don't really care the details. I just know that this is what I need to do, and I'll be like, this is what it costs, and they just pay it outright, right? And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's very blessed. So if to kind of go into some advice, if you're interested, if I imagine there's a good chunk of people watching this content, right? So there's like people who are just getting started. There's people who are already established and want to grow. And then there's people who are already grown and they're just feeling me out with this content. I don't know. Maybe you found me from an ad. I don't know where you found me from, right? But I'll give some advice to the absolute beginners. Do not judge yourself. Just stop judging yourself. Stop trying to catch up to where you see other people at, and just get ahead of where you are now, today. That's all that matters. I just think that I've had envy in my heart before, and it always stalls the growth of my business. It's really hard to grow when you're envious and when you're trying to do something because you don't like yourself, right? Just stop comparing. I mean, I've met a lot of the really, really big players in the space, and I don't want to name any names because I really respect the brand that they've built and the image that they create for themselves and all this stuff. But most of the time, it's not. They're not perfect. Like, they make tons of mistakes, and they're just like you. And I'm in that way just like you too. Like, I continue to make just ridiculous, silly mistakes. But my good decisions outweigh my bad decisions by a large enough factor that I am where I am today. And that's just kind of just how it works, right? So that's my advice to beginners. Just stop judging yourself and just pick something and stick to it and just get a little bit better every day. I teach this framework to our clients about Kaizen. So just 1 to 3% improvements every day compounded. This can be improvements in the system or improvements in your skill, really important just to have that mindset. And then that's the advice to beginners, honestly. And then get a mentor. The stuff that I do can work for absolute beginners, but it's a bit more of a learning curve. Candidly, I don't even know if I'm the right mentor for someone who's just getting started. You know what I mean? So probably go somewhere else for that, for a paid investment of some sort, right? And then my advice to people who are doing like 10 to 30 grand a month, who want to get to like 100 grand a month, a lot of the time, people like that, they need to get comfortable in vulnerable leadership positions. So going from 30 to 100 to 200 a month, you're going to have to make some of your first hires. And I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for other people, but I was actually horribly afraid of hiring. So, I mean, I was making a lot of money as a one-man show when I made my first hire, and especially when I made my first right hire, right? Which at the time was a sales rep to help me sell my stuff. That's when things just blew up because I could just focus on marketing and just marketing and marketing myself and just fill their calendar completely. And that's when I had my first 6-figure month within like 60 days because I just went so crazy with marketing, right? But I was so scared of doing that because something about having money involved. I've always done like leadership stuff. Like I just love people, and I think that's the trick right there, is that you just really love people, and you enjoy people, and you enjoy hearing their story, and you enjoy just like working with them, And if you don't, I mean, honestly, that's really something you got to think about, because business is just many sets of relationships, and some of the most successful business people are incredible people. You know what I mean? They understand people, they can listen and hear people, and they can lead people well. And so, I mean, you should read some Dale Carnegie, you should read some Win Friends and Influence People, you should read some John Maxwell, you should read High Output Management, you should read 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, you should read The Motive. These are all really good books about how to like hire and build an amazing team. And then for the people who are at 100 grand a month who want to grow to 8 figures, because that's our current trajectory right now. We're not doing 8 figures at the moment, but our trajectory is as such that if we just don't change anything, we'll be there. And so I can't say like we're there and here's my advice, you know what I mean? But I can say we really should, like, unless there's something coming that I'm not seeing right now, you know what I mean? We will be there. And so I could be wrong. But for people who are trying to get from 7 to 8 figures, my advice is you're going to want to think more in terms of like energy. Okay? So you're going to want to read books like Organizational Physics. You're going to want to read books that cover the topic of energy. Reality Transurfing is a good one. Kind of about like what you allow to take root, you know, and how to actually focus on, like, it talks a lot about how what you focus on you kind of create more of, things like that. And you're going to want to think about org chart and how to structure your organization so that everybody is succeeding. So really there's like 3 stages, and this is something Cole Gordon says. And this is, again, like, did not know this guy's name, stepped into the space, and now I know all these people, you know what I mean? But he said, it was really good. He said, first make yourself rich, then make your clients rich, then make your team rich. And kind of my translation of that and how I parse that is really build a business where it's as competitive as somebody starting their own business, where you have enough internal support and training, which this is something I missed. So I had the org chart, the team size, the marketing, everything was there, but it was just training people all the time, and it just, you know, people get burnt out and they just get frustrated, it's not working, all this stuff. And because they haven't paid to be there, like, our clients have paid to learn from us, so they're willing to kind of see it through. Employees haven't paid to be here, so if it gets hard, they did, right? It should be the other way around, in my opinion. But, you know, now we have, like, these internal training documents, and we're building, so I'm actually partnering with my top performers on every team to build an internal training resource for their role. So for sales reps, for setters, for coaches, for everything. So if you wanted to come in and do any of those roles, you could, and you could make money. And so my goal is that there's not a single individual in my organization who doesn't make 6 figures, right? And I want to have a team of about 10. And 10's about the size that we're going to need to create the revenue we want to make. But I'm taking my time and I'm just really training people. So just start to think that way. Start to think building a business that's like, you know, really see it like 2 sets of clients. You've got your clients and you've got your team. Like those are actually, you're really just a servant leader, right? And if things aren't working, it's your fault. Like, it's nobody's fault. So how do you build a business where you can actually do that? So, I mean, look, guys, that's my story and that's some advice, and I hope that this has been a valuable video. I mean, I could go way longer and talk way more in detail and go way further, but I just hope that this has been valuable for you, and I hope that's been maybe a good look into who I am, my story, my background, and everything. And just because sometimes I know that when I was both just getting started, as well as when I'm kind of on the market looking for people to get help from, I just like to know who I'm dealing with. And I like to know who they are, you know? And, you know, so hopefully I've scared away the wrong fits, you know what I mean? And maybe if you're the right fit for what we do at some point, then, hey, I'd love to see if that's the case. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.